Okay, you got the biggest thumb in Indian cricket went up for you. So let me ask Shastri why.
Yeah. No, he's straight away got a job in the BCCI. That's it. You're not going to see him here. Fantastic content there. All 3 points.
Bye, GS. Bye. Another IPL done. And we already start discussing next year's IPL. That's how efficient we are. I'm sure the BCCI are discussing next year's IPL. All the stakeholders are interested. About 45 channels and platforms are wondering who will host the next IPL. So we are going to ask Daniel Vittori, Ravi Shastri, Ian Bishop, Akash Chopra and Gaurav Sundararaman what we've learned from this year's IPL and what does the future hold. What can we tweak? What can we change to make it maybe more interesting? Anything with schedules, anything with rule changes, nothing is off the table. Before I go to any of these fine former cricketers, let me go to GS to give us the big information. GS, what is that big information that we must keep in mind before we commence this chat?
The fact that the rights are going to be sold for more than 2 or 3 times than the current amount, you can expect a lot more matches, a lot more content for all of us to kind of consume. So it may not be the same set of 70 odd games that we're seeing every season. It's going to go up and up and up in the next few years. So that's for a start.
So if 95 games is the reality, let me ask Akash first. Is that a good thing? Everyone playing home and away, or is that, that's a lot of games, potential fatigue increase? Akash.
See, there will, of course, if there are more games, you will see the interest dip towards the middle of the tournament. Then it starts, the traction starts just taking off a little. So this is the natural progression of a tournament. See, when you sow a seed, you do not know how exactly the tree is going to look like. Sometimes you know, sometimes you don't. In this case, when the inception was done, 2008, you started a league. This is where it was heading. And it is not just the end of the IPL. I'm actually foreseeing there might be 2 editions of the IPL in a single calendar year. And that's not too far away. That may also happen. So 94 games, you and I and all of us may keep arguing, it is a bit too much and it gets boring and it is less competitive. But this is where we are heading. And when we'll be broadcasting, we'll be telling you how interesting and exciting it is that tonight's game is where everything is to play for. So this is how this tournament is going to shape up.
Fascinating. 2 editions potentially of the IPL, a summer edition and a winter edition. I'm all for it, Crunch the international calendar, forget the bilateral. Ravi Shastri has sat on an IPL governing council as well. He knows the tournament better than anyone. But Ravi, now it's turning out to be this big monster. How do we tame it? What do you see happening to the tournament now?
First of all, how many channels did you say? 45 what?
I mean, counting all the TV guys, the online guys, everyone wants a piece of the
You're way off the mark. If the bid is 60,000 crores, it's 60 channels, right? So it's 1,000 crores per channel. So remember that. And
you can afford one set of rights, Ravi. You should be able to cut your own
down the line. Yeah. At 95, then is even 95 is less. When the marker is set that high. But that's the future. I agree with Akash totally. If the NFL can go on for 8 months of the year, 7 months of the year, IPL is not far beyond. You will have to break it up. You'll have to give a break to the players and come back again in a new corridor. So it could be tomorrow 140 games, which could be split 70-70, in 2 seasons. You never know. But that's the way it's going to go. That's the way it's developed as a beast of a property, and you cannot hide away from that. You might think it's overdosed, but nothing is overdosed in India. I've been sitting outside the bubble. I've been, watching people, how they've seen or reviewed these last 2 months, especially out of COVID. And they are loving every bit of it. And they're almost having withdrawal symptoms that in 10 days' time, this could be all over. And they can't have their usual scenes after 7 o'clock in the evenings.
Ian Bishop is one of those people. He's nodding. He's not going to be able to have his usual scenes after 7 o'clock in the evening in a week from now. So let us ask Bish, you follow American sport thoroughly too. 2 legs of the IPL split 50-50 or 60-60 games, 70-70 games. Is that the future?
I think it could well happen. You talk about American sport. I know Dan watches his baseball a lot. I watch a lot of NBA basketball, and each team plays 70 odd games a season. There is the All-Star break in between where they get a week off, but it is really stretched. As far as consuming the product is concerned, I like what Ravi said there. Ravi said he's outside of the bubble, so he's getting a feel for what people want, how people view it, and I think that's appropriate. We are trapped in the bubble. It's hard for us to get a real feel for the people on the ground. So I think how much is enough is up to the people outside.
Okay, since we're on this theme, Dan, break it down. What would a split IPL season result in terms of players, coaches, tactics, teams? If we are going to break the season up, how does that work, positively, negatively?
I think first of all we have to be cognizant that we're probably the ones who get bored of it, not everyone else, because we watch every game, so that leads sometimes to our view of it. Whereas I think Ravi's right, people in the street still love it. So I think there's an appetite for it. I'm fascinated about splitting it up in two because of that point in player availability, coach availability, but that can easily be sorted with remuneration or another window being carved out, which obviously the BCCI has the power to do. As a viewing public, I think we've got to get used to multiple games going on at the same time. So I think the IPL is almost spoilt in a way that we play one game, all eyes on that, and then nothing else is going on. Whereas if you think of those American sports, there's 6, 7, 8 games going on at the same time, and you make a decision on what game you're going to watch.
Ravi, just one question. If this is going to be a reality, it'll obviously have to come at the expense of international cricket. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. There's too much of bilateral stuff going on in T20 cricket. I've said that, even when I was the coach of India, I could see it happening in front of my eyes. It should go the football way, where in T20 cricket, you just play the World Cup. The bilateral tournaments, no one remembers. I don't remember a single game in the last 6-7 years as coach of India. Barring a World Cup, if a team wins the World Cup, they'll remember it. Unfortunately we did, so I don't remember that either. But where I'm coming from is you play franchise cricket around the globe. Each country is allowed to have their own franchise cricket, which is their domestic cricket. And then every 2 years, you come and play a World Cup. You pick your teams from there and then play a World Cup.
What really actually has to happen eventually when you're carving out another window? I do feel that Champions League that was a phenomenal tournament. So when every country has got their own T20 or 100 or whatever, you've got your franchise cricket, right? There is a CPL, there is a BBL, there is IPL. I thought that idea was slightly half-cooked and therefore it didn't really take off and didn't really garner the kind of numbers everyone expected. But that is where you'll have the international involvement a little more, is what I feel that is also on the horizon. Don't rule it out just because the first edition did not work out.
So just continuing with Akash's idea, I just think what will eventually happen is not a Champions League, but a playoff format of the 10 IPL teams itself in the winter. So I think what might happen is in October, November, small window, just before the Australian season starts, we could have a nice 2-week tournament of just 10 IPL teams, put them into 2 groups, have like a kind of a Champions Trophy kind of format, and just have 10 teams play. So that will still, get the excitement up there. And, if your team misses out on IPL, at least you can kind of win this. I would like to see more people start following particular teams. Today, I think we are following players. If you want to move it the American way or the Premiership way, you start following only those teams. So that way what happens is you can have a weekend full of like whatever all of them said. You can have a weekend of 4-5 games, but I'll sit and watch the Chennai Super King game or the Mumbai Indians game. Similarly, other teams can watch their own teams. But the only challenge with that is you need to build loyalty. To build loyalty, you can't keep chopping and changing the teams.
Get rid of the auction, the big auction.
I would like to, I don't know how to do that, but I would like to see kind of me following my own team for the next 5-6 years. And then that way, the only thing I find it being a hardcore IPL fan, I think every day having a match, they should maybe have a Super Sunday, Super Saturday, have a couple of weekends where they have like a lot of matches and just create a carnival and maybe have a few weekdays off and slightly maybe shrink the number of days, but the matches can go up.
Okay, you got the biggest thumb in Indian cricket went up for you. So let me ask Shastri why. Yeah.
No, he's straight away got a job in the BCCI. That's it. You're not going to see him here. Fantastic content there. All 3 points. Bish, how are you doing?
Hi, GS. Hi. Yeah.
He's got a job.
I have a point.
So Ravi, you like the idea of a spin-off? Or
it's already been talked about, that knockout, what he mentioned there, as because of, like Danny mentioned, about the calendar availability of coaching staff, the personnel around the IPL. So this is more concise. It's over 2.5 weeks. You can finish it off. It again has a different angle to it, in the sense that it's a knockout. It's still the teams playing. That is very good. Even the other point he made after that, following teams, I think great. That's one of the reasons why this year, if the ratings dipped a bit initially, it was because of the spread out. Teams were fans were so used to seeing a Mumbai Indian team with 6-7 players, an RCB team with a lot. So Chennai Super Kings with their list. So they're getting kind of used to it. But again, I think that team culture will start following after this year.
I'm going to take my life into my own hands here and disagree with GS and Ravi. That it's been proven in American sports now that people do not follow teams, they follow players. And that's why there's so much interest in the off-season now. So the off-season around trades, who's going where, individual players forcing themselves into different teams. So the team loyalty has died within players, and therefore it's sort of died within the viewing public as well. So viewers are linked to their individual players, and they love watching them. That's why they love all the drama of the trade season, the off-season, who's being traded where, who's signing a big contract. So I think that's the other part of the IPL that we need to, I suppose, embellish, is that it's not just about the 2-month window. It's about the trade season. It's about the coaching changes. It's about the auction or draft or whatever it is. So therefore it becomes a 12-month-a-year entity, rather than we just put all our eggs in one basket for 2 months.
Very interesting. I like that. Let's also remember it's just 10 teams now. Most of the Premier Leagues, the other seasons have 20. They have a spread across the country. People can choose to be loyal to a region that they were part of. But here we are still associating mainly with players. So I can see Dan's point. Right. This was all hypothetical, but it could very well happen. Let's just take this to the other side of the conversation, which is if we have the same tournament next year, let's assume it takes 1 more year before we get all of this going. Could we see anything different to make it more interesting?
Bonus point. How about giving a bonus point? If you're winning the game with that big a margin, then you should be rewarded justly. But a bonus point is tangible. You get it there and then, and you do whatever it takes. If you can, you get it. And that, I think, makes a huge difference in a long league.
I think good point, very good point, because that gives a different dimension. There's more interest there. You want to finish off a game. You have a side at 62 for 7, chasing 140. You don't want to keep playing the waiting game. You want to finish it off because you get that extra point. So it's very valid. I'm not one for tinkering too much, because this game has 3 formats already. So you don't want to confuse the viewer or the spectator. Let him kind of get used to what is out there. But this change is a good change. I think the players will like it too.
Dan, anything else from the other leagues that could come in? 100, the play has its own tweaks. The 2 bowlers, maybe 1 bowler bowling 2 overs back to back. Anything else to make it more interesting, if that is indeed what rule changes do? Dan?
I think the encouragement around pace of play is always there, and that's what the 100's done so well. So they push the game along so quickly, and it seems to be attractive to everyone who's watching. I think one of the things that it feels like this year we potentially haven't had as many blockbuster players. So the availability of every single player, I think of Stokes and Stark off the top of my head, and maybe that's a result of sort of Dhoni coming near the end of his career and Kohli not having the season that we expect of him. But to have every player here in a 10-team league, we just don't want to have any weak parts at all to the competition.
Pace of the game, Bish. The 100 penalizes you on field, gets a player in the ring if you're not behind the clock. You could even sponsor the clock. You have the strategic timeout, and you have the other thing that sponsors the clock that makes the game go fast. Bish has to learn all this. So let me see what he makes of it. Bish.
No, that's just pace of play, which is not something that sort of hampers me too much, but I have to think about the other people, the kids, the young people, those who are traveling to the game. So that's the only thing. I can't think of or add to any of the other exciting ideas that the guys have offered.
All right, that is pretty much it. Big thank you to Ian Bishop, Akash Chopra, Daniel Vittori, Ravi Shastri, and future BCCI Chief Administrative Officer Gaurav Sundaraman for giving us this valuable input. He has spoken his mind. BCCI will take him, and he will never do it again. Thank you, Ian. Pleasure.
All right.